But technology for technology's sake, right, we know it doesn't work. We know it's all about how you use the tool, what you do with it. And so there's a lot of technology tools, there's a lot of tricks, right? One of my favorites is shortcuts, right? Shortcuts are a great way to save teachers time. And so for instance, you know, maybe you're like me and used to backspace a whole lot of times just by hitting the backspace button, right? Maybe you know that if you hit Control Z, you can undo a mistake that you did. And then if you hit the backspace button with Control, you can delete the whole word at the same time, right? There's little tricks like that that can make a big difference, right? Save you some time. But maybe you know that, right? Maybe that's not so impressive. Maybe you're like, oh, Aviles, I know Control C, Control V, copy paste, and the shortcut master, right? In Google, it's actually Control D. You can duplicate, Control, copy and paste in one button, right? It's the little things. So when you start to do that, right, you start to see a little bit of change, save a little bit of time, but you never know when you're going to stumble across like that big trick or that big thing that makes a huge difference. And when I was managing my one-to-one classroom, right, the big trick for me was Control-Shift-T. If you've never heard of Control-Shift-T, right, make sure it's something that you keep in the back of the head when you go to a one-to-one classroom. I call it tab roulette with my kids, right, because I always like to be proactive. I always like to introduce my kids to what I know about the internet, so they know that I know that they know that I know, right? Because you walk around, you'll see in a one-to-one classroom, kids are pretty savvy. They know that they can hit Alt-Tab on a Chromebook and they can switch their screens really quick while you're coming around. Or they can hit Alt-F4 and they can close all the windows before you can see what they're doing. Or Control-Shift-Q and Q on a Chromebook shuts it down, right? So we have to be as good as a cat as they are as a mouse. And that's where Control-Shift-T comes in. If I hold down Control-Shift every time I hit T, it will open up the last thing that they were looking at on their browser. And what's amazing about that is students don't own their Google accounts, the school does, right? So they can't delete their history. And so by holding down Control-Shift-T, right, we can see what they were up to. And I always love to hit Control, hold down Shift, I look at the kid. I go, every time I hit T for a window that pops up as a YouTube video or a Twitch stream, do we want to spend a day at attention with me? Right? And so they know that I know how this all works, right? So Control-Shift-T is a great way to manage, right, a one-to-one classroom. Another one is Control-H. Control-H will bring up their browsing history with a timestamp. It'll tell you what they were looking at, when they were looking at it. My favorite thing to do with that is take a screenshot and email it home. And look, your kid was watching YouTube videos, right, for 30 minutes of class today. Because at some point, they, especially at this level, right, they have to take, they have to take advantage of their own learning, right? It's not my opportunity, it's not my job to force them to do something. So if the parents are okay with it, why am I going to fight that, right? So Control-H is another great tip for one-to-one. Another tip for one-to-one that isn't necessarily a tech tool, but another tip, right? Have something similar, I call it half-mast. It's this idea that you should be using your Chromebooks intentionally in class. And so when they're using it, right, they're up, they're doing whatever they need to do. But when you need their attention or they're not supposed to be using it, having them close their lid to 45 degrees, right? So enough that they can't work on it, but not so much that it makes them have to restart the Chromebook, right? Control-Shift-T, Control-H, half-mast and circulating are all I've ever needed to control a one-to-one classroom, right? Those are the real big things. We talk about fundamentally controlling the classroom. Control-Shift-T, so you can show them that you know what they've been looking at. Control-H, so you can lay out before them what they've been looking at. Half-mast and circulating the classroom, right, has been really something super helpful for me. And again, these just all came from like playing around with shortcuts through my time as a teacher.